Hello and welcome. The goal of this podcast is to get listeners connected with others in the sports industry because they say it's all about who you know, and now you know us. All right, here we go, and we're back. Another episode of the Constant Sports Podcast. Today, we're going to be diving into a lot of the college football playoff brackets, breakdowns, expert analysis, and predictions
Mm.
from yours truly and longtime co-host, Mr. Salvatore Caprita.
Oh yeah. Big season is just getting started. First iteration of the 12-team college football playoff. Excited to break it on down, discuss. This is all fresh as it was announced last Sunday, the official teams making the playoff. So all fresh and looking forward to discussing this first iteration.
Yeah, so let's just dive right into it. Obviously, we have the new 12-team format. A lot of people are upset because, well, maybe not a lot, maybe certain fan bases here. I'm just pulling up one of the brackets here.
Here we go.
So we've got, obviously, it's the four kind of maybe not power four conferences. The four conference champions are in. So let's just start there. Do you like having
Yep.
the four conference champions getting auto bid first week by?
I'll say this. Well, it's a two-parter here. Um, Do I like conference champions automatically getting a bid? Absolutely. The order of which they are ranked, no. I think so. Technically, I think it was five conference championship champions. Okay, they automatically get their bid, but it's still clearly based off of what we saw Sunday needs to go by the 12 best teams.
Yep.
So just because you win your conference championship, okay, great, you automatically get your bid. But your ranking, the ranking should go based off of just the whole iteration of the season and
Mhm.
whole demographic between strength of schedule, big time wins, etc., and the whole field. So I think just like you're saying here, one of the big points from Sunday was clearly this thing is still not where it needs to be.
Right. And I think we were, I don't know if many people watched that UNLV Boise State game, but I think the final was like 21-7 or something. But I mean, that game was, I mean, UNLV was in the red zone like three or four times, just could have come up with it. Obviously, it's can't cry over spilled milk, but let's just hypothetically say UV or UNLV wins that game. And I mean, that's just it. What are they going to be at number? There's no way they're in. I mean, they technically would have been in the playoff, but
UNLV, correct, yeah.
I mean, that just
Just
makes no
same as Iowa
sense.
State.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me.
Right.
Like, you know,
But I mean, it's kind of the same. It's like winning your division in
right.
pro sports. You know what I mean? So, great example, NFC South. I
True.
mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are probably going to be a playoff team. Are you kidding me? It's every year we've got one of those
Yeah.
teams that have a even record or below a winning record and still make the playoffs, which I'm all fine with. But what we saw is based off they awarding these conference champions automatic bids
Mhm.
and higher seeds has fluctuated this whole thing and specifically has put Oregon at a disadvantage where
Yep.
they're going to be facing clear two opponents, either Tennessee or Ohio State, who are better than some of these conference champion winners, and has put basically, if you look at the bracket, how it's laid out now, the best seed to be is number six, Penn State,
Yep.
because they now have SMU, which is the another conversation we can get into. SMU versus Alabama. That was the second big hitter from Sunday.
Yep.
But the number six seed plays SMU, 11 seed, then plays
Boise.
Boise State, number three seed, and is basically a shoo-in to the semifinals.
There, and that's
Just like
coming
that.
coming from a Penn State fan. But yes, I do think the ordering and the rankings of this should have just been 1 through 12. Like, because
Yes.
now we have on this like ASU's the 4 seed, but then in parentheses 12 seed, Boise State's
Oh,
3 seed,
exactly.
parentheses 9 seed. Well, what's the point of having the 1 through 12 seed if we're not going to go off 1 through 12? So
Right.
I think they should have just gone 1-12. That's how they do. That's how we do in every other sport, every other tournament known to man. The 1 seed plays the 12 seed, and then you meet up
Right.
together. Because then, like you said, Oregon now has to play either Ohio State, Tennessee, and then coming at the bottom, either Clemson, Texas, or Arizona State, and
Right.
that's going to be a way harder road, like you said, than the other schools.
Right. And I'll preface it like this. So the way they've got it built out right now is there is still lots to be changes. And I'll say this. We're glad that we've got 12 teams because this is going to make it exciting. But the way they're doing it is they're still trying to keep those underappreciated conferences, Big 12, ACC, Group of Five schools still in the mix.
Right.
But the truth is, at some point, it's going to come down. It's going to be two conferences. It's probably going to be Big 10, SEC. All schools are going to be in there. And then we're just going to have the top 12 teams playing.
Mhm.
It probably will come down to that.
Right. One, and I've seen a few, quote unquote experts say pretty much the NFL model, right? Obviously at a bigger
Yes,
scale. You got
exactly.
probably 60, 75 teams type of deal. And then you have
Hmm.
East, West, North, South, AFC, NFC type of model. To
Yep.
me, that makes a lot of sense. It might be a little difficult to kind of pen out specifically just in football, if you can do basketball, baseball, etc. But I think if you just kind of make a football subdivision, put Nick Saban as a commissioner, whoever you want, right?
Right,
Make
right.
commissioner, and then kind of roll through that. I think that's somewhat realistic, kind of
Hmm.
the landscape we're going down, nowadays with the potential, rev cap and revenue sharing. That's
Right.
looking like to go into effect next year if voted on, where schools got 20 mil per school, and essentially you have general managers at schools. But
Yes.
that's kind of what I think on that end. But before we put a ball on this, as the Penn State fan, are you taking the Nittany Lions all the way through? Is that your final prediction?
Yes. And I'll say this. So let's look at it just the way. So we got SMU
Yep.
in Happy Valley,
Yep.
win. We've got Boise State, looks like it's going to be the Fiesta Tostitos Bowl in Arizona,
Mhm.
win. So now it's either Georgia or, in my opinion, Notre Dame.
Mhm.
Notre Dame plays Indiana in the first round. I think Notre Dame finds a way to squeak that out. I
I
do
agree.
think it's going to be a good game. I do think Indiana is a good football team. With that being said, now we've got Georgia, Notre Dame. And the problem is Georgia's quarterback's hurt.
Yeah,
I mean, that that shot he took at before halftime with his arm, I don't know how he's going to be able to throw the football
I don't
the
think
rest
he
of the
is,
year.
right? I don't
Yeah,
think he
I
is. Yeah.
I don't think he is either. So now you got a 50-50 shot. I still think Georgia finds a way to pull that out, but Penn State's roster is going to be too talented to face a backup quarterback or Georgia coming in with a backup quarterback. So I do think they're there. Now the question is it going to be Oregon or Texas?
Mm.
We beat Texas without a doubt in my mind. Oregon is another shootout. I've never seen our defense play that bad like we did in the Big Ten championship. However, caveat, we had them on the ropes.
He did. Yeah.
We
I mean,
did. So
there were a few moments where it was getting dicey for our resident Duck fans, Mr. Coolman
correct.
and others. I'm for sure, especially when they had boots on the ground. But yeah, I have to say,
Yeah.
as far as the semis go, I'll go till they all go. I think
Yeah.
I got Penn State, like you said. I hate to say
Hmm.
shoe-in, but the road to getting to
Oh,
the semis
it's
is,
a shoe-in.
yeah.
It's a shoe-in. Now they may not beat Georgia or Notre Dame, but they're going to be in that game.
Yeah, for sure. And then I like up
Yeah.
top on that side, Georgia, I'll probably go with. And I don't know. I want to say Oregon, they're the number one seed, but you got to play
I do
Ohio
too.
State again. They're going to
Right.
be pissed off from the past few weeks they have already lost to Oregon,
Whew.
beating the same team twice in 1 year.
It's difficult.
Difficult. It really is,
The
especially
question and
playoffs.
sorry to cut you off there. The question in that game is, are we going to see Will Howard from the first iteration of Ohio State Oregon, or are
Mm,
we going to see Will Howard versus Michigan?
right.
That's two different quarterbacks.
That is that's a good point. And then also down below, I think Texas handles Clemson.
Yep.
And I do think they handle, unfortunately, the Sun Devils. I think you're gonna have, like I said, there's something about pissed off teams with teams to prove, things to
Right.
prove. And I think Texas, they had Georgia on the ropes, had them on the mat, they just couldn't finish. And I'm sure they think, that game should have been won. They should have had auto bid or auto, bid with the first round bye. So
Right.
I
And
hate,
I
yeah, I hate to see that game, but I think Texas handles Arizona State there.
Right. And I'd love to just chat about that game real quick. And the fact is, the Sun Devils, what a story. What
Oh
an
yeah,
organization. Activate the Valley. They've got it going right now. Phenomenal running back, up and rising quarterback, head coach, phenomenal. Uh, they will give Texas a battle, but in the end, the roster is just two
yeah,
different
it
levels.
has to be.
However, what the Sun Devils have done this year is mightily impressive, and I anticipate them to be a formidable opponent and not shoe in, but a constant top contender in the Big 12.
Yeah, agreed. So then I think my final prediction before the national championship, because
Okay.
we'll do re-predictions then, but I think it's going to be
Yeah.
Penn State and Oregon in a rematch.
I
Yeah, like I said, too early to pick that winner, but
Right.
That's
Well,
that.
the question on that one, as you've already alluded to, is we've got a duck rolling around in in the United States. Do you anticipate him showing up to that game?
You have to. I mean, if
I
you're
have a feeling
talking,
as
if you're
well.
that much of a duck, and
Yes.
I've been around a few ducks in my day,
Hmm.
they fly a little different. They flock together. I have to imagine things are
They're
getting
all
moved
going.
around. Yeah,
Yeah, I do as
that's
well.
and if this were this is the hypothetical, but if it's Penn State, Oregon, I know the Penn State fan base is nationwide. They move well, but these ducks are a different breed, and
Really? You
I
think they would have a bigger presence?
where it's in Atlanta
It's in
or
Atlanta,
Miami,
correct?
Atlanta.
Nope, you're right.
Oof. I don't know. I
They're
mean,
flocking.
60-40 maybe. They just move different. I think they move a little different. We can clip this, but I think they move a little different. I'd go 60-40
Okay.
Ducks.
Alrighty.
And then staying on that topic, the topic of kind of the NIT, where they have in basketball the March Madness, you have the NIT for college football playoff has been rolling around.
Hmm.
I personally, I'm for it. I mean, I think some of these bowl games, no shade to the Pop-Tarts Bowl and the Alamo, Avocado Arcade
Right.
Bowl.
Yeah,
Those are kind
yeah.
of whatever, but you make this NIT thing kind of this tournament. I think right now we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 teams in it. It basically looks like it's from 11 all the way to the 20s or so with Army in there, Syracuse, things like that.
Right.
12. I think that'd be kind of cool. It's just kind of another revenue source for these schools and things. But then also kind of puts the question in, what's the competition level? A lot of these games, they don't
Right.
really matter. And
Well,
it's kind of like the bowl game though. So it's like, what are you going to win an NIT championship? And I don't know.
well, that's you've nailed down the head is I'm for it too, and just like you said, I mean it gives a little more spice to the Pop Tart, the avocado
Mhm.
bowl. But the question is, what's the incentive?
Yeah,
What's the win? Like our 12 team playoff right now, we're going for a national championship, like
correct.
the end all be all. NIT, what is the teams winning?
Mhm.
Now maybe in the future when you're talking about there was rumors and talks because there's so many college football programs, relegation style like they
Yes.
do in European soccer. Okay, NIT champion is automatically into that next
That's
tier.
subdivision. Yep.
Okay, you've made an incentive for it, and now we're talking lots of big time football games because they mean something and it's important.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot in this college football landscape that can be done. The question is, who's running it? What is it going to look like? I mean, these are all questions we are going to find out here in
Yeah.
the short term.
No doubt. And then speaking of questions, we're going to find out here, or answers to our question, Heisman Trophy.
Woo!
We'll go ahead and get your pick live. I'll give my pick. I think it's I probably have to go with the running back up there from Boise. I just the numbers are pretty gaudy. It's hard to go against the compare and contrast to the other running backs that have won the Heisman with Mark Ingram, who's Derrick Henry. Some of these guys, he has more yards, more tutties than them. So that's hard. I think Travis Hunter's will go higher in the draft. Obviously, I think he's a high draft pick and maybe has a better shelf life as far as NFL career and longevity. And but I just think, yeah, I mean, there's something about being in the college football playoff to win the Heisman, to elevate your team,
Right.
that performance, opposed to being in no shade to Colorado, obviously, but I don't whatever bowl they're in.
The
It's not the
Alamo
playoff.
Bowl.
Out of the bowl. Okay.
Yeah. No, and I'll preface it as I agree. The Boise State running back should win the Heisman. One of the most prolific years from a running back in college football. It really will go down in history. But with that being said, it's exciting. We probably will not have a quarterback win the Heisman this year, which that's kind of a standard process. So
Mhm.
it's exciting to see two offensive weapons in the conversation with the Boise State running back and then Travis Hunter in Colorado. I do think what Travis Hunter did at Colorado, playing both ways,
Oh yeah.
scoring touchdowns, getting interceptions, has to be said for. Definitely puts him in the conversation, and it really is neck and neck between them. I truly don't know who's going to win it. I probably lean towards Travis Hunter just because of all the hype.
Mhm.
But my personal opinion, it should be the Boise State running back. But I will say, I do think similar to the MVP award, that's what the Heisman, in my thought and kind of correlation to college football is, should go to the best player on the best team. So
Yep.
I don't know why Dylan Gabriel isn't getting more
Agreed.
conversation in that. Oregon was clearly the best team this year, and he was clearly the best player on that team.
Yeah, I think yeah, for some reason he's gone under the radar, and maybe
Right.
I don't follow enough people on the socials or whoever, but I just feel like maybe it's because he started out kind of slow in the first 2, 3 games of the year. People kind of put him in the back burner,
I
but yeah, I mean
guess.
they're unblemished, so he hasn't done anything
Yeah.
wrong. And
No.
to host that team, and with all that pressure going undefeated, now a few games away from being a national champion. So I do think Cam Scatterboot, as a resident Sun Devil fan, should have been that fourth nominee.
Well, yes, I agree. And I'll tell you what, the shade that Arizona State has been getting, or the underappreciation, is going to show. They're going to come out ready to go.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
they
And I
truly
mean,
are.
did you see? I don't know if you saw the mistake they made on ESPN today.
Yes,
We're
throwing up the
putting the team down
Wildcats.
south. I don't know
Yeah.
what we're doing there. Someone needs to get fired for
Whoa.
that.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's crazy talk. But speaking of crazy talk, pivot here. This just came across my timeline earlier,
There we
but
go.
there was a bill introduced. We don't usually talk politics on here,
Oh,
but Harry,
oh
did you see
boy.
this? Did you see
Oh
this?
boy.
You
I
know where
did
I'm
see
going?
this one.
This
Yeah, I know
bill
exactly where you're
introduced
going.
that would in Ohio that would make it a felony to plant a flag at the center of Ohio Stadium. Personally, think that's a little too much. A felony is
Yes.
that's big boy jail. That seems a little out of control, in my personal opinion, to be doing that. I mean,
Right.
I usually lean kind of let the boys be boys type of deal. I'm not sure that would equate to a felony charge in a planting a flag in the center of a football field. But yeah, it's wild that that's even kind of being brought up.
Yeah, yeah, quite the world we're a part of at this moment. I always go to the adage. I know there was a lot of stir back when Cam Newton was in his MVP season
Mm.
with the Panthers and the him
Oh, dancing. Yep,
celebrating
yep. You got to stop
exactly
me.
da 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 da. Stop me.
Yep,
You don't want someone to plant a flag in the middle of your field. Stop them.
yep. Well, and
Beat them.
you've seen a lot of players
Correct.
come out and say that, like especially the NFL guys. Like you
Yeah.
don't want someone to do something. You had an hour and
Yeah.
plus. You had 60 minutes plus to prove your point, to score points, to stop them, and you
Yeah.
didn't. So
Correct.
that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles in that sense.
Yeah. If you win, they're not planting no flag.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, I
agree.
don't know what to tell you.
I agree. That yeah. So I just thought that was wild that came across my desk earlier today, and thought that was
Well,
something.
yeah, well, I'll tell you one that while we're still on the college football train, because I know
Yeah,
we've got some other topics, but just a quick dive into the changing landscapes. The news that came across my ticker is the new head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels.
yeah. We dive
Yeah,
into that. That's
yeah,
so
that's
he's. I
something.
think I saw something. He was 12 or 14 wins away from being the
No
all-time
time
winningest coach. Is that right?
in the NFL.
Which is
Correct.
a season. I mean, maybe two
Oh
seasons
yeah.
if he goes
Oh
to a
yeah.
bad team. But say
Hmm.
he takes over, like a mediocre team. I mean, you're playing almost, 18 games or so, whatever it is, plus playoffs.
Correct.
So yeah, to me, so well then I did see a report that his dad coached there in the 50s.
Right.
So
So there's some
maybe he's
connect
got some sort of play there.
some
Um,
ties to Chapel Hill.
correct. I do think this is opinion, obviously, but you have the college football landscape, basically changing where it's pretty much it's not amateur sports anymore. It's pretty much a professional model.
Oh, it's professional sports for sure.
Correct. And so I think potentially Bill Belichick and his camp or whoever he's with sees this as a time and opportunity to kind of lead the charge in making the college sport a pro model. Speaking of,
Correct.
front office, he had whatever, like a
Well,
400-page Bible that he brought, and it was
correct.
like,
And
this is what we're going to do. This is how it
right.
needs to be run. Whereas college football isn't like that. It's drastically different than the pros. And I think potentially he's trying to say, I'll be the tip of the spear and create something that's never been created before in
You're
college.
yeah, you're 100% correct because right before we actually hop on the call as well, there was announced that Michael Lombardi will be joining as the
Mm,
GM for the Tar Heels.
yeah.
So, I mean, he's literally, as it should be, he's going to come be the face of college football and bring in that pro element to it.
Mhm.
GM, old high level facilities,
Yep.
just like you said, demanding these young professionals, these young kids to follow the professional model and you're coming obviously for school, but this is how you're going to train, this is how you're going to act, this is how you're going to study football at a professional level. And
Mhm.
with that being said, I don't know where the money is coming for the Tar Heels, maybe Michael Jordan, I don't know.
Right.
But now they have upped their ante. The collective was like $4 million for football. It's
Yep.
now been bumped up to $20 million
Right.
for their roster. So anticipate the Tar Heels to make a big jump here in the ACC in the coming years.
Yeah, they'd have to. And it kind of gives me, shades of what Prime's doing at Colorado, bringing in Warren
Correct.
Sapp and other ex-NFL guys and making it
Correct.
basically streamlining it. Say, hey, we're taking this serious. Not that colleges didn't before, but, basically saying, I mean, it's essentially what Alabama did. You come here, you play for
Yep.
2 years, you go to the NFL, you make $100 million. You're the
Correct.
best at your position. And
Well,
and
now
Alabama has
uh-huh.
basically every top player in the NFL hails from the University of
To
Alabama.
Alabama. Correct. Yeah, but now it's the model. Now they can openly say, "You come here, you're making millions, and you're a pro."
Right. And when that we can dive into a little bit, but the transfer portal in football, especially
Oh,
being open for
oh,
December, what is it, 8th to the 27th or something,
is that what it is?
and now
Wow.
you have players that are, quote unquote, restructuring their new
Oh,
deal
I
with
know.
their collective, and then you got
Yeah.
players hopping in and out of the portal, and you saw, I think it was a Colorado State head coach talking about,
Yeah.
there's like NIL
Novell.
agents,
Uh-huh.
taking 20% off
Percent.
collective deals, and
Woo!
that's just wild that that's
That's happening.
transpiring. Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be some legalities and some kind of stipulation to protect these kids. But with that being said, yeah, I mean, you've got kids in the transfer, like debating going in the transfer portal, like talking to their school. Yeah, I need to be guaranteed my starting spot. I need to be guaranteed this amount of money per month. I need to be guaranteed to be playing on X amount of downs. And it's like, all right, if you don't give that to me, I'm gonna go in the transfer portal. It's
Yeah.
like wild to me. It's like not even pros don't get that. Like when you sign a 3-year deal or 4-year deal as a pro, like that's it. These kids now are in the like have all the leverage.
Mhm.
It's a year to year thing, and that's why we're talking about we need to get structured to it, and
Mhm.
these kids need to sign up. You're signing to come to this college. You're signing to come for the next 3 years. It's not a year to year thing.
Okay. Well, and so there's two things. I think that's kind of in one of the reports I was reading when Belichick was going to North Carolina. He was like, we're
Right.
doing these structured deals. Like, we're not having this influx and outflux of athletes and the roster turnover where you could have, this amazing tight end or defensive back, and then the season ends, and now he's going somewhere else, and then you got to fill it in, and
That
no team chemistry.
that's what I mean. You couldn't pay me to be a college coach.
Yeah.
I mean, I know college coaches are making millions and millions, but that is a 24/7, 365 nonstop job.
Hmm.
Because not only are you trying to recruit new high school people, you're trying to convey and convince your current athletes to stay every single day. And then now you've got transfer portals and dealing with all this. I mean, it never stops.
Never.
Never.
Yeah. Godspeed to the coaches out there. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think, as we, what is it, 2025, so about 5 years since we've kind of been in this NIL upspring type of deal.
Right.
There's got to be some sort of structure. And like I said, we touched on it earlier. I'm open to the, kind of a commissioner, that type of deal, kind of get the
For sure.
NCAA, put it over here. And I know that I don't want to alienate the Olympic sports. And that's why I think you can't just fully cut out,
It's two different entities, in my opinion.
right. Especially when it comes to the TV deals. And I think it was like the Big 12 commissioner or something said like there's like basically of the TV deals, there's only a certain subsect of the schools. Like there's 10 schools that basically make up the entire TV deal,
Oh,
right? And
yeah.
the rest are
For
just
sure.
like the
For sure.
Rutgers, no shade to schools.
Yeah.
I'm saying these types of schools, not West schools. I mean, you're not Texas, you're not Alabama, Georgia. These schools, Penn State, you're driving the revenue, and they're
Correct. Yeah.
kind of there to be along. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of the model I'm saying is. And then as far as these other kind of non-revenue generating sports, there's still got to be, a structure for them where it's still, fiscally responsible for the teams and everything to be, well staffed and have the proper facilities and things. But yeah,
Correct. That's what I mean. I mean, facilities and athletic departments are already so tight for cash. Football drives it, but I mean, now because of this, I just always go back to it, and we don't necessarily need to get into the full weeds on it, but it's just like we don't need California softball traveling
agreed.
to North Carolina
Hmm.
for a softball match. Like that just makes no sense.
Yeah, keep it geographical.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. I think, especially for the non-ref sports, to be traveling that much is just dumb. I mean, you can do a tournament or
Yeah.
whatever, but just stick to geographical locations. It's better for the fans. It's better for family. It's better for,
Right.
rivalries and things. That's just how it works. We've done that. Just keep. I think if there's one thing to keep in sports is to basically, I don't know how you'd unwind it now, but just put the basic conferences back to where they were
Oh yeah.
and call it good.
No, yeah, absolutely. That's the whole issue, and that's why they needed someone to come and be the commissioner and pull it out. Is should have just had boop. Everyone agree. Your football program is its own entity. It's its
Mhm.
own thing. We'll keep the same structure that we've had for hundreds of years because it works for
Right.
our non-Olympic sports. Football just is too big.
Yeah. Football, and we'll go to the NFL a little bit, but kind of cool news where Nike and NFL extended their uniform contract to 2038. So I did think it was funny, like who else is gonna who else is buying, who is vying for an option there. I mean,
Right.
Nike kind of makes the best uniforms in my opinion.
For sure.
Under Armour and Adidas kind of made a push there for a little bit, but I feel like most of the top schools now are Nike slash, some football schools are Jordan, obviously basketball. But
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, yes, absolutely. And I feel Nike's product at the football level is very superior. But
Mhm.
don't forget about what happened in the MLB earlier this year,
It's
Nike
true.
uniform wise. So it's a fluctuation of all the time and making sure your product is up to standard, et cetera, et cetera. So very good for Nike. I think it's a natural fit. Just like you said, uniforms look great, but it is an ever-changing environment, and there's like between Under Armour, Adidas, Reebok, etc. There's a lot of players in the game.
Yep, no doubt. And then staying in the NFL side of things, we'll get your kind of, I know it's a little past midseason, but end of the season kind of predictions, who you got coming out of the NFC. And I'll go first because I'm putting you on the
Let's
spot. And
do
then
it.
who you got at AFC? AFC, I think, I mean, it's got to be the Chiefs until someone beats the Chiefs. They're
Right.
going for a three-peat. And then coming out of the NFC, I'm gonna have to take I like the Lions. I know they're kind of two front runners, but I'm like I said earlier, I'm of the approach of you got to beat the best to be the best. So I'm going Lions, Chiefs, Super Bowl.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I do think the Bills have a
Okay.
very, very good chance in the AFC. I'm not the biggest believer in Pittsburgh. Could be wrong there. Yeah, you've seen it where defense can lead you to a championship, so
Mhm.
don't hold them out. I feel Baltimore's always got a fighting chance,
Yep.
and for some reason, I really thought Houston was going to play a bigger factor in it. At this point in time, doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, I
So
feel
for
like they
the
just haven't turned it on this year.
yeah, which I mean, there's still time. There's still the playoffs. You never know who gets hot. So keep an eye on
True.
Houston. But for now, based off of everything, I think it's going to be Buffalo Ravens in the AFC Championship, and Bills will take that. Why I didn't pick the Chiefs is they're just I know they're fighting and they're winning,
Hmm.
but it's one of those where it's like, okay, you can tell it's not as clean as it once was.
Right. Yeah, they're squeaking by, it seems.
Yeah, yeah. So I do anticipate the Bills, and like you said, I'm gonna follow your lead in the NFC. I'll preface it like this for the NFC. I anticipate one of the NFC North teams being in the final game.
Okay.
There's three great
Oh
teams
yeah,
there
there it was
between.
11 or 12 and 1,
Yeah,
11 and 2, and whatever the Packers are, 9 and
correct.
4 or whatever.
Yeah, they're really good. I lean Lions for now. I would say Lions or Packers. As much as I love Minnesota, I don't know if I trust the quarterback,
Hmm.
but it's a 50-50 shot. I'll take the Lions. I think they're going to get done this year. They got too much momentum going on. Looks like Dan Campbell's got those boys rolling as per usual. So I think Lions Bills in the Super Bowl this year should be fun. Right.
Thanks, Sal, for joining us today. It's always a pleasure having you on, talking sports, talking some football this time. And to all the listeners and viewers, thanks for joining and tuning in. And this has been another episode of the Constant Sports Podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.